Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stands. This is your Erik ten Hag press conference reaction for the Manchester derby. And we're upbeat and happy because Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial are both back in training all week for Martial as well. The club and Ten Hag have kept that under wraps fantastically well. As well as Erik ten Hag, they haven't kept this under wraps. Erik ten Hag is the Premier League manager of the month, and Rashford is the Premier League player of the month, which is absolutely fantastic. What is it, Gary? It's absolutely incredible, Mark. Absolutely fantastic. It is. It's really great news, and lots to get into. Unfortunately, 3 questions about Harry Maguire. I mean, we're Manchester United. The Maguire stuff is because of England. It's not because of Man United fans. So I am going to get into that in a little bit because I feel that Man United fans are being blamed for what's happening to Harry Maguire, and mental health has been mentioned, and criticism and everything. And I disagree that it's Man United fans. I think Southgate, England have caused all this, not Man United fans. He was sat on the bench before the international break and no one was talking about him. He goes on international duty and he's getting three questions in a press conference. So where's that come from? It's coming from England. It's not coming from Manchester United. But let's fly into this then. So lots to get into. First of all, I just want to say before anything, because it belongs to be right at the start of the show, Erik ten Hag getting Premier League Manager of the Month in his second month in the Premier League should not be slept upon. It is massive, absolutely massive. You've got Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, Antonio Conte, Mikel Arteta, all of them. I mean, Klopp's not had a great start to the season, but the other 3 have. You've got managers like that are doing really, really well at the moment. You know, Fulham, the Bournemouth manager's done really well. It's a very competitive Premier League is what I'm trying to say. And for Erik ten Hag to deservedly get Premier League Manager of the Month in only his second month at Manchester United after a horrific first 2 games with a team that is arguably one of the worst Man United squads we've ever seen that he took over, I think he deserves massive praise for getting that. And the thing is, sometimes Manager of the Month is not deserved. He completely deserved it. There has been a few detractors saying, well, that's only because you didn't play all your games in September. But considering our games in September that were postponed were Palace away and Leeds at home, it's conceivable that we would have won both those games. Thoroughly deserved. And I think it's massive. I think it is absolutely massive. And look, hopefully it's the first of many. We don't know what's about to happen, but he deserves this moment, and we as fans deserve this moment to say what a great job he's doing as our manager, because it's not easy. Not easy to win Premier League Manager of the Month. Not when you've got the quality of managers and teams that we've got in this league. And then you add into that the smaller clubs who are doing well as well. Really, really good. Really, really, really good. So well done to him. And well done to Marcus Rashford as well. I've got to say, I'm very, very happy that Marcus Rashford won Premier League Player of the Month, but I was surprised. I thought, well, surely Haaland's going to win it because he scored so many goals, but maybe that didn't happen in September. I don't know. But well done to Rashford. But Ten Hag, that is fantastic and thoroughly deserved. So really, really pleased for him. And well done to Rashford as well. Right, talking about Rashford, let's get straight into this. We were asked about injuries. Erik ten Hag was asked about injuries. He said Harry Maguire's injured, he's out of the game. But more importantly, there are doubts. He said there are doubts over Martial and potentially Rashford, but Martial trained all week. He trained really, really well. And Marcus Rashford has returned as well. So this has been kept under wraps really well by Manchester United, because we've all been looking and focusing on this and trying to figure out what's going on. No photos have been released. No videos have been released of Rashford or Martial training this week, which is really clever and well done by Manchester United, because if it's true, Man United have made a conscious effort not to have that out there, because I've seen the videos of Man United training this week. I've seen the pictures you've seen. You can't see Martial and you can't see Rashford. So they've done really well there. And if Ten Hag is telling the truth, and I think he is a manager that tells the truth, if Martial has been training well all week, even if he's not quite ready for the derby, really positive that him and Rashford are back training, because we were talking this morning about the need to buy a striker. We desperately need Rashford and Martial back, and we desperately need them to stay back. I think the next month is so important for Rashford and Martial that they don't pick up another injury. Now, I'm not getting too excited about the game at the weekend, because Erik ten Hag is our manager, and in the short time that we've had him as manager, you know as well as I know that it's very unlikely he's going to play Rashford or Martial for 90 minutes on Sunday when they've only come back into training this week after quite lengthy long layoffs. So I think that they won't be playing full matches on Sunday. He might do 45 minutes each. He might do that, but I don't think we're going to be in a situation where they're ready to play 90 minutes, and I don't think Ten Hag's the manager to do that. But it's sounding promising. He said we'll make a decision closer to the game, but it's sounding promising that we might have one or both of those available to be part of whatever game plan he's got for Man City at the weekend. So really, really positive about that. Maguire's obviously out. We'll talk about him in a minute. He's also said that the only other injuries, I mean, he didn't name check Donny van de Beek, who I think Donny van de Beek was back training the week before. So I don't think Donny's an issue at all, although we haven't seen any pictures of him either. But he didn't mention Donny van de Beek, so I assume Donny van de Beek is comfortably back and ready for these games coming up. The only long-term 2 injuries he mentioned was Axel Tuanzebe and Brandon Williams. Funnily enough, 2 players that we would have sold in the summer who are still now injured in October, which is crazy, really. Nearly into October tomorrow, aren't we? So Van de Candy says facts. The usual Rashi and Martial back to they've been for years. Ronaldo, Rashford, Martial, Anthony, and Sancho. And last time Martinez played against Haaland, Ajax beat Dortmund 4-0 and Martinez got man of the match. Well, let's hope that happens again, Dave. So positive news with Martial and Rashford. They're back in training and they're in contention to have involvement on Sunday. I'd be very surprised if Ten Hag started them and played them for 90 minutes. That's not how he does it. But to have them as options for 45 minutes or whatever, I think this is really positive. I like Ronaldo. I love Ronaldo, as you know. But we do need more options up front in a game like this. And I think if you had a fit and firing Martial or Rashford, you'd be looking to start both of them, really. So yeah, really good to have them back. I forgot to say, actually, Erik Ten Hag was asked about the Manager of the Month award, and he said, we achieved it together, and it shows that we're moving in the right direction, but there's lots of improvement still to come, and we have to improve, and we have to work harder. What a manager. What a manager. He just comes out with everything right, doesn't he? Manager of the Month, we all won it, but we've got to work harder. We're moving in the right direction, but there's lots more work to do. Easy. Fantastic. Fantastic. Love it. Absolutely love it. He was asked about Harry Maguire, actually. Let's just get this discussed. Now, I don't agree with this, but it's inevitable. It's the way press conferences work. Instead of delving into the relationship between Pep and Guardiola, Pep and Ten Hag, and instead of getting into the finer details of the Manchester derby, of course you've got to waste 3 questions asking on a player who was never going to play in it anyway. So he was asked about Maguire. He says, do you have to protect him? Do you have to protect Harry Maguire in relation to the abuse and everything that he gets, especially on social media? Now, I want to say here straight away, I'm part of social media, you're part of social media, Simon Stone, who asked the questions, part of social media, Manchester United's part of social media. I think social media gets thrown out too much. I think Samuel Luckhurst was on about it in an interview he wrote as well, that on social media you don't get the constructive criticism that you get elsewhere. Is that not just basically Jurassic Park commentation, that basically social media, you can't get good football analysis, you need to go and read a newspaper? Get with the times, you Zoomer or you Boomer or whatever it is you call it. Social media cannot just be used as this stick to this toxicity place. Because social media is basically everything now. We're on social media, YouTube, Twitter. Everybody uses social media. Every so-called expert uses social media. Every newsreader uses social media. The problem with social media is the same problem you've got with society. There are parts of social media and parts of society that just are vile. So I don't really like the blanket social media, because God, there's some brilliant analysis of football on social media. God, there's some great conversation about football on social media. So I don't like this blanket social media thing. It gets on my tits, to be honest with you. But there is some horrible stuff on social media. So basically, Erik Ten Hag was asked about Maguire, saying, do you have to protect him from all this abuse that he gets? Now, I will say straight away here, why is it Erik Ten Hag's job to protect Harry Maguire? As we said, go back to the start of the international break. Just had a game postponed against Leeds and Crystal Palace. The Queen had passed. We'd just played in the Europa League. Who was talking about Harry Maguire in the Man United fan base? Who was going on about Harry Maguire in the press? Nobody. Nobody was talking about Harry Maguire. He was on the bench and everybody was happily talking about what a good defence we had. And I'm pretty sure at that time, Harry Maguire was not very happy, much the same as Luke Shaw, but was getting his head down and thinking about how he gets back in the team. And that was it. It was absolutely fine. We go on an international break, no one's talking about him. We come back, everyone's talking about him. There endeth the lesson, and there's your biggest clue. The problem's not Man United, and it's not Man United, and it's not Man United. It's England and everything that's gone on with that. So we're back talking about Maguire. And I find it confusing because we weren't talking about him before the international break because he was on the bench. And now we're talking about him when he's injured and wasn't going to play anyway. So I find it weird, but I've got to say, Bala, welcome to the Members Club. Remind me about that in a minute. Where was that energy when Martial and Pogba were getting abused, says Nana. You know, you're always going to have a good point when you say that. Paul Pogba got booed at the end of last season. Never heard any player come out. Never heard the club come out. Never heard any media come out. And whatever you think about Pogba, he's been sold now. It's still the truth. It's different rules for different people, and we know that. But what Ten Hag, I love Ten Hag. I absolutely love Ten Hag because I remember Solskjaer being asked about this sort of thing about 18 months ago, and he made a silly comment where he said, the ones who make the noise the most aren't the real fans, and basically slated people on social media. And it was a bad move by Solskjaer, who retained loyalty for a long time and then came out with something like that. Ten Hag wouldn't be that naive. So basically Ten Hag has said, I back Harry Maguire because I believe in him. He was good in pre-season, but Varane and Martinez are doing really well. He's got the quality there. He's proved that in the past, but it's about him, and that's what I've told him. Thank you very much, because it would have been so easy for Ten Hag to come out with stuff like, the abuse is a joke, it's disgusting, he's a top player, this, that and the other, and basically throw it against. What he's actually done is what Ronaldo would do, and what Pep would do, and what Ten Hag has done, and what any elite sport mentality would do. You silence your critics by performing well. It's about you. Life is full of people who criticise you. You're not in a unique position because you're a Manchester United footballer. This will happen at Real Madrid. It will happen at Juventus. It will happen if you're a pop star. It will happen if you're on the news. It will happen if you're an actor. It will happen everywhere. If you're in the public eye and you're not performing, you will get abuse because that will be a percentage of criticism because that's just the way the world works. We cannot solve, it's not our job to solve the abuse and vile nature of society. There are things in place to do that, and things need to be done better around abuse, racism, everything else that exists in that toxic, abusive area of society and social media. Ten Hag can't solve those problems, but what he can do is he can say, the things are in place within this club to support you, but it's about you. And I would say, look at Scott McTominay. Scott McTominay was getting ridiculed as a footballer for 2 years. And this season, he's getting credibility. He's getting credibility because he's working hard and he's doing well. And that's just what you have to do. And I think the media are desperate for a line about making things work. You know what the media should do is shut up. Just shut up. The best thing for Harry Maguire is everyone to shut up about it. But they won't. And I'll repeat what I said. He was not being spoken about before the international break. He's now being spoken about because of England, but it's now being spoken about with Man United. We don't want to talk about Harry Maguire. We want him to work hard, get back in the team and get on with it. The best thing that can happen for Harry Maguire is that no one talks about it, but it's constant. And then there was another question about mental health. Should fans be thinking about players' mental health? Now, this is always a good thing to ask because mental health is on the agenda, isn't it? It's high, everybody knows about mental health. But I felt that the answer from Ten Hag was spot on. It's an aspect of our work. It's an aspect of everybody's work. We've got experts around at the club that can help with that. And we have things in place to help and coach the players. But again, it wasn't Ten Hag looking for some big sympathy vote or to, make some big statement about football fans or society. It was like, well, look, criticism, abuse, it's part of the territory. Whether it should be or not, it's part of the territory. And it's an aspect of our work. Ultimately, it's about you. It's about how you react to that and what you do about that. And I just think that the media need to park it now. You know, you've turned it into something that it never was with Man United fans anyway. I did not see many people talking about Harry Maguire before we went on England international duty, and now it's being mentioned all the time. And I think it's difficult for us as United fans because basically we're being asked to discuss and analyse the situation of a player who deservedly is sat on the bench because we've got two better centre-backs. Only in England would this be even a topic. It's like going to the Bayern Munich or the Juventus or the Barcelona press conference and speaking to those managers about a player that had no chance of starting this Manchester derby anyway and is sat on the bench and asking 3 questions. Only in England and only with an English player, because that's what it's all about. It's about England and an English player. I personally think injury could not have happened at the right time. I hope it's okay, but this actually takes social media toxicity away and focus on himself. Vivek, I think Erik ten Hag said exactly what I've been saying for quite a while and all summer. I don't think now was the time to sell Harry Maguire. I do think he's going to have a very important part to play at the club. I don't think he should be starting for the club. I don't think he's good enough to start ahead of Varane and Martinez, and I don't think he's a very good captain. But in this season, we're going to need players like Harry Maguire, Victor Lindelof, Luke Shaw, Fred, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Those types of players probably need to be moved on in the next 2 years, which is the cycle of football. You can be sold and it's not a bad thing. But this season, this next 8 months, not all those players will be sold, by the way. Some of them will turn it around and become really important players. But they're very important players this year because we have no alternatives. And there will be an injury or a loss of form for one of our centre-backs. And at that point, you need your Lindelofs and your Maguires. To be honest with you, if I was Victor Lindelof, I'd be sat there going, what's all this about? I think I'm better than Maguire and I'm not even being bloody mentioned about starting games. I mean, I'm pretty sure he doesn't want all the press attention, but is there a massive difference between Lindelof and Maguire? It's almost like Lindelof doesn't exist anymore. And you know why he doesn't exist? Because he's not got an English passport and he doesn't play for England. And that's why Maguire's being spoken about. It's just English bias because it's an England player. When Lindelof's in exactly the same position. He was pretty shit last year. Varane and Martinez are better than him. Just the noise, the volume. I wish I could just switch the volume down because it would do Maguire the best of good. I think, like you say, the injuries probably come at the right time because he won't be very happy about it. But at least he can just be forgotten for a little bit. Maybe get back for the Europa League, but ultimately maybe don't get back for that game. Maybe he misses the derby, he misses the Cypriot game on the Thursday, and he misses the Everton game a week on Sunday, and then he comes back after a bit of a break. Everybody just needs a break. Dale, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for joining. I've got lots to go through still, but that does remind me, if you are a member of the United Stand Members Club, or you want to be a member of the United Stand Members Club, then the link is in the chat, or you can click the join button. We've just released our new exclusive video. We do one of these each week, plus you get the badges next to your name. So links in there. Our latest video, you're going to love it. It's Eriksen versus De Bruyne. Stats so far this season, passing, everything like that. Really interesting. It really exposes how good Eriksen here is when you deep dive into the different areas of his game and compare it to De Bruyne. So if you are a member, check it out. Hi Mark, don't you find the English bias scary? It's actually frightening the amount of praise subpar players get just because they're English, and it's mad, says Matty Ross. Thank you very much for that. I'm just having a quick look at something here because this is happening a little bit too much for my liking. Let me just go into here. I think I know why it does it. I think it's because of that. There we go. Let me come back here. It just starts playing up, and I don't know why. Really weird on the stream here. Hopefully it will settle down a little bit. Okay, we should be back now. Jammer. I don't know what to say. I'm getting so frustrated by this. Hopefully it's going to stabilise now and we can carry on with the stream. We're back. Good. Good, we're back. I don't know why it keeps doing that, but investigations will take place as Goldbridge investigates. Yeah, lovely. So let's carry on with what we were talking about there. So Erik ten Hag has been speaking in his press conference, and he was asked about the Manchester derby and the derby thoughts, and he said, "I played many derbies as a player. I know it's so important for the fans, and also that he's really excited about it, which is fantastic as well." So yeah, looking forward to it. Let me just get that off. Right, we seem to have stabilised now. I agree with you, Mark, about the need to turn down the noise around Maguire, but wouldn't he help himself by relinquishing the captain's armband? I don't think they'll do that, mate. You know why I don't think they'll take the captaincy off Harry Maguire? Because when you've got a journalist asking about mental health impacts on footballers, and then the club takes away a armband, then you do not want to be that person who is doing that, do you? So I don't think that the club will be doing that anytime soon. At all, to be honest with you. Man City are the benchmark. He was asked about how you deal with the game against Man City. He says, "Look, the approach is to win. The aim of this game is to win, and our approach is to look at ourselves and not what they're doing. The game, nothing else matters. We have to win this game. We've got a good plan, and it's about executing that plan." And I like that. Welcome to the Members Club, Harry Walker. I like that from Erik ten Hag, because it demonstrates what's most important here, which is that we are masters of our own destiny. That we have a plan to go there and win the game. And anything can happen in a derby. I've gone with a 1-1. I've already done my preview, Rashid, so starting lineup and everything like that, I've already done it, and I won't change that based on the fact that Martial and Rashford have trained this week. I'm not expecting them to start, and if they do, it'll be a bonus. But I think that I'm liking what Erik ten Hag is consistently saying every week. He said it right at the start, and he said it most weeks now, that our aim is to win every game. And I know that every manager probably would want to say that publicly, but they don't all do it. And Erik ten Hag does. We're going to the Etihad. The aim is to win the game. I've heard managers. I've heard Manchester United managers. I mean, I've heard David Moyes as well as a Man United manager, who will sort of, even before a game like this, talk about how difficult it is, and basically, maybe realistically, big up Marks as EJ. Sort of expose the fact that you are the underdogs. So I quite like that ten Hag is saying that the aim is to go into every game and win the game, because I think that you have to try and do that. And I'm intrigued as to how he's going to try and do that, because Man City is a very, very difficult game, and Pep Guardiola is somebody that ten Hag has worked under. So yeah, he's not his lapdog. I just want to say that. I think Arteta worked under Pep, and you do get that sense of, well, is he Pep's lapdog? Well, ten Hag worked under Pep at Bayern Munich as reserve team coach. I don't think Arteta is Pep's lapdog, and I don't think ten Hag is either. I think there's a respect there. I think if you got Arteta and ten Hag together and asked them about Pep Guardiola, he's probably a role model manager to them. But nobody's going to. What I'm trying to say is they're not going to lie down and just let him tickle their belly. They're there to win, and that's the whole point of anything. Is when you go against your idol, is to try and put on a good show. And I think that's exactly what Manchester United are going to try and do on Sunday. But yeah, I think ten Hag looked refreshed. He looked up for it, and I think that we've got a real opportunity on Sunday to go and get a really good result. And I do think a point would be a good result. I think a win would be amazing. But I do think there's a vulnerability to Manchester City. I keep saying this. And I'm going to say it now. I think, just talking about Man City, I've said it all season. I still think they'll win the league, but I don't think they're as good as they were last year. And the reason for that is I think they've had to change from last year. When you lose Jesus, Sterling, Zinchenko, Fernandinho, then you become a team that is a little bit different. And yes, they've added in Haaland and Alvarez, but I don't think they're as fluid as they were, and I think they're playing slightly different than they did. Whether they become a stronger team than they were last year with the changes they've made, maybe they do. But I still think there's a vulnerability to Man City. I don't think everything is as well-oiled as it was last year, pardon the pun. And I think in the time it takes them to adjust to that, there may be some vulnerability there. Obviously, we've got our own vulnerabilities. I mean, God, comparing us to last year to this year, there's a big difference. But we still got problems. We've still got holes. But a derby is a great leveller. A derby is a great leveller, and Ten Hag himself spoke about the passion and the energy of a derby. We've got to temper that. It's one thing I didn't mention in the preview. We've got to temper our energy. Michael Oliver's dodgy. As a referee, he's a dodgy ref. He can ref good games, he can, but he can also be, this is a big game, everyone's watching, I'm going to do it in my way. We don't want a referee that makes it about the referee. We want the referee to make this a derby. I don't care if Kevin De Bruyne goes through Scott McTominay in the first minute in a bad tackle. I don't want a yellow card. As long as we can go through Foden 2 minutes later and it's not a yellow card. That's the sort of game you want. Because obviously people like Scott McTominay, Delo, they do pick up a lot of yellow cards, and we can't afford a red card in a game like this. We can't be sat there after a 4-0 loss on Sunday afternoon going, yeah, well, we lost because McTominay or Delo or someone got sent off. We've got to be disciplined, but we've got to have the energy. Hi, Mark. I love the videos. Hope we can get a result on the weekend. My best mate's Farley's birthday tomorrow. Can you call him a prat? Says Enzo Matt. There we go. We're breaking legs, says RJ. Well, if we do that, we'll lose, won't we? You've got to be more disciplined than that. Man City has strangely had their best start in the last 5 years, so I don't know what you are saying, Mark. It takes one good day for them to click, says Mario. Mario, it's not all about results, though, is it? Spurs have got more points than us. I think their start to their season has been very lethargic up until their last game against Leicester. So results aren't everything, and Man City may well have had their best start, but who've they played? Who've they played? Like, what decent team have Man City played so far? They've not played any of the traditional top six until they play us. So, and also, Man City they were 2-0 down to Palace at home. Yes, they ended up winning, but they were 2-0 down to Palace. They were 3-1 down to Newcastle. They drew with Villa, who have not had a good side. So, I stand by what I said, Mario. I think that there is a vulnerability to Man City this year. And that was to be expected. It's the same thing with Liverpool. Mane's gone. Nunez has come in. They're not the same Liverpool. They're readjusting to a new Liverpool. And I think Man City are as well. They've adjusted better, but I still think that Man City are adjusting. They have got the best striker in the world on form as well, though. Can you call my mate Lewis a prat, a super proper prat, says Harry Walker. Thank you very much. Make sure you smash a like on the video, by the way. And don't forget, I'm saying this to the members, the people with the badges next to your name. There is a new video that's been uploaded in the last half an hour. Eriksen versus De Bruyne, exclusively for you. Make sure you give it a watch. Man City will win the league. I'm just saying I think there's a vulnerability to them. And people will take that completely the wrong way and start saying that Goldbridge thinks Man City are crap. I predicted they'll win the league, but I do think there's a vulnerability there. The reason Man City will win the league, by the way, is because they will get over 85 points. I don't know of anybody in the league this year who can do that. Liverpool have shown they can do that, but they've had a bad start to the season. When was the last time Man United, Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea went over 80 points? It would be Chelsea, wouldn't it? But that's the gap you've got to close. But we ain't talking about the... Azad says Eriksen versus De Bruyne is a bit of a joke. Yeah, it's probably a little bit too technical for you, Azad. It's for the members who've got a little bit more about them, because... it's not Eriksen versus De Bruyne and who's better. It's just, if you're part of the members club, you'd know what it is. It's a statistical deep dive into their performance this season in relation to passing accuracy, forward passes, tackles won, etc. Of course, De Bruyne is a better player than Eriksen, but it's more of a focus on Eriksen and what he's been doing this season. Deep dive into different areas and then comparing him to what De Bruyne does. So. Yeah, if you take it literally, you're a prat. So, well done. Ronaldo winner on Sunday would be amazing, says Manmeat. I don't know how Ronaldo figures into this game. And obviously, he's here. Yes, he's here. But I don't know how he figures into that. I don't know how he figures into that game. I really don't. Stones is out. City's defence isn't the same, says EJ. you can get at that Man City defence, and I think the key to getting to that Man City defence is a bit of pace. A bit of pace. And I don't think Ronaldo really is going to cause Man City problems on the break. Man City is probably the one game in the season where Ronaldo probably doesn't suit a start, but he might start. He might start him. One game plan I can think of is that for the first hour, we keep things tight, and Ronaldo can help in that. And then in the last half an hour, you bring Rashford and Martial on and you have a go. Who knows? Who knows? There's loads of ways, but the most important thing is that Erik ten Hag will have a plan. It's whether we can execute that plan. Showtime Win says, talking about mental health around Maguire, a lot of people slated Rashford and Sancho along with Saka for the Euros and no mention on mental health. Yeah. Look, I don't think sympathy is the way forward. I think Carragher said it in the week. Sympathy is not the way back. We can all acknowledge the vile toxicity of social media. We can all do that, And I'm not deflecting here, but there'll be somebody in the chat who's had horrible abuse on Twitter, on WhatsApp or something. I've had it. I'm sure we all had it. And we can all play the sympathy vote. But I don't think, what does that do? Let's all hold hands and acknowledge how vile social media can be. Well, speak to Twitter. How do we get, the most important question here, how do we get Harry Maguire back playing well like he was 18 months ago when we had the Europa League final and he got injured before it? He was playing really well then. How do we get that Harry Maguire back? Because it has been 18 months. And that's why a lot of England fans got pissed off, because they're like, you're not only not picking people on form, you're not picking centre-backs who've been good for the last year over somebody who hasn't. Maguire's not played well for a year, at least a year. So the question is not the abuse or anything else or the criticism. How do you stop the criticism for a footballer? Well, either he retires or he becomes good. And he's not going to retire, so he's got to focus on becoming good. That's the medicine. That's the cure. Not sure why you've called that fella a prat. The little video. Rogan, you're an Arsenal fan, so I'm not listening to you. And love it, Mark. Keep up the good work. Regards from Sweden, says Gabriel. Thanks for being a member for 4 months, mate. And just on the Eriksen versus De Bruyne thing, I actually explained what the video was about in the first 5 minutes. So twice. He won't just play well. He was always overrated and had a lucky streak, says Dick. And Elanga in the middle would be decent. No, Jude. No. Elanga down the middle would not be decent. I like Elanga, but I think Elanga needs to be on loan. He's been over-promoted by 2 managers now, and I think he needs to be on loan. We have got an 8 o'clock show tonight. Sin Games says it's not Twitter's fault, it's society. People follow the sheep. I don't know what went wrong. Yeah, well, yes, society has changed a lot in the last 10 years. I think we can all acknowledge that. But we're football fans. We're talking about football, aren't we? We can't solve society problems. We can't solve Twitter. Mark, if you could bring back one United player from the past for this game, who would you choose? Hey, you know what? It's a good question, because I normally always say Roy Keane. Because leader, captain, but we have got Casemiro on the bench who could do that job. So would you be wasting that place? We don't need any centre-backs. Prime Ronaldo wouldn't be bad, or Rooney, someone like that. But no, I probably still would bring Roy Keane back just for his leadership. But we're getting there. I think as a team we're getting there, and I just want credibility from this game on Sunday. That's what I want. I keep using that word because I think that's what it's all about. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I think we're so fortunate. And we spent a bit of time talking about toxicity and negativity, and we've had so much of that as Man United fans, and we've had so many reasons to be negative. And let me give you this example. So last season, you're a Manchester United player. You have basically shit all over the shirt and wiped your ass with it. You have leaked, fell out, embarrassed, humiliated Manchester United fans. It's got so bad that the best fans in England, our away support, are singing at players, "You're not fit to wear the shirt." You take that question from the journalist today about mental health. Where was that mental health question then? Why was that not asked in the press conference after that? What? These fans singing "You're not fit to wear the shirt" and booing them, are they not thinking about their mental health? Well, that's how stupid that question is. Because, of course, it's justifiable to boo a player and sing "You're not fit to wear the shirt" when they're not fit to wear the shirt. Because it's an entertainment business and they weren't performing. So what's changed? Why are we suddenly talking about that sort of thing? Because it's not United fans. It's just not United fans. United fans are not really talking critically about any player at the moment because the manager has just won Manager of the Month. And part of that Manager of the Month is not the results. It's benching Shaw and Maguire to bring Malacia and Varane in and sort that defence out. So there's a contradiction in where these journalists are going with the story they're trying to print. Mental health, protect, this, that and the other. The manager's just won Manager of the Month because he's changed his team and benched underperforming players. It's all getting a bit confusing because they're running away with the story when actually, from a Manchester United perspective, Luke Shaw, Lindelof, Wan-Bissaka and Maguire were our back four for a couple of years. They're now all on the bench for a new back four. End of story. If any of those players want to get back in, they've got to work hard and wait for their chance. There's no scapegoating. There's no bullying. There's no favouritism. There was. There's not anymore. So we're all getting a bit confused here. But I think Man United fans are pretty much on the same page. Let that be England's problem. We just want to turn the volume down on this. And if players want to get back in the team, they can work their way back in. Do you think Sancho could work in the middle in Bruno's role? I do, Stephen. I've always thought that Sancho could play as a number 10. In some ways, I think his game's more suited to it because he's not explosively fast, but I think he could play that role. Karshik says, my concern about Maguire is I wonder if he realises that he has to improve. His interviews say otherwise with a sense of arrogance, whereas McTominay, Bruno have been open about their need for improvement. Well, if he doesn't improve, he won't play, mate. So I go back to what Erik ten Hag said. It's about him. He's got to realise and deal with it. And if he doesn't, he won't get back in the team. Thoughts on Rashford winning Player of the Month, but Eriksen winning Man United's one? It's the contradictions. It's a great question by CT, actually. Nearly got 10,000 people watching, by the way, so make sure you subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. It's the contradiction, isn't it? It's the contradiction of awards, really. Some awards are handed out to people because they know people. Some awards are handed out to shortlisted people that doesn't even include the best people. I mean, last season, the Premier League team of the season didn't even have Son in it. No, the candidates for Premier League Player of the Year didn't even have Son in it, and he was joint top scorer for Spurs as a Spurs player. So awards are nice, but they're not always legit. Yeah, how do you get in a situation where Marcus Rashford's Premier League Player of the Year, Player of the Month, but Eriksen's Man United's Player of the Month? Well, I presume there's an element of fan voting in that. So, I mean, the fact is, they both had good months, didn't they? If I was voting for Manchester United's Player of the Month, I wouldn't have changed it from Eriksen. If I was voting for Player of the Month and Eriksen's not there, then I'll probably vote for Rashford. So, yeah, it is a bit of an odd one, but I think, you know, the positive is fair play to both of them, isn't it? That's the bottom line. Fair play to both of them. And good, nice night. You know, if I'd said to you after the Brentford loss in August, Marcus Rashford is going to win Premier League Player of the Month, Erik ten Hag is going to win Premier League Manager of the Month, and Christian Eriksen's going to win Man United Player of the Month, you'd have said, what are you drinking, eating or smoking, or all three? And actually, they deserved it. Ryan says, if we win against City, do you consider us a serious top four threat? If not, at what point do you think we will be contenders? I'll go back to what I said on the international break. We've got 13 games in the next 6 weeks, and then it's the World Cup. If we can be in the top 4, when we break for the World Cup, then we're top 4 contenders. But there's a lot to do to be in that situation. And we have to take it game by game. It won't be the end of the world if we lose to Man City on Sunday, by the way. It won't be. Man City are not in our lane. We are not racing Man City. We are trying to rebuild and stay in touch with the Arsenals and the Spurs this year, much the same as last year. If we can pull Chelsea into that, great. But Liverpool and Man City are not really our contenders. That doesn't mean that they won't end up being our contenders this year, because, you know, odd things can happen. But yeah, you know, which is why I've said, if someone offered me a point against Man City now, I'd take it. And I never normally do that. I'd say I'd never take the point before the game. I'll take our chances in the game. But I would take that point because I think it would give us progression, consistency, and growth. And but we can win that game. We could win that game. Sancho's best season for Dortmund was when he was a number 10, says Dave. There you go. Right. 3 things. First of all, 8 o'clock tonight's the Q&A show. Friday night Q&A is back. Looking forward to that. I like the chilled out vibe. Might have a beer myself tonight. 3 o'clock today, I'm live on Twitch, Goldbridge TV. I'll tweet it out off at Mark Goldbridge for you. TUSFC career mode, big day today. We're in a bit of trouble, but we're hoping that Friday is going to be fantastic. And then third thing as well, I know Adil won't be watching it because he doesn't understand it, but we've just released a new members video. Eriksen is our player of the month. We've compared him to De Bruyne in their stats so far this season, and there's some really interesting stuff in there. So if you are a member, check it out. If you don't want to be if you do want to be a member, click the join button or the link in the description. Mazimba says Eric has surely been preparing Casemiro for this match. He's stopped De Bruyne before. It's time we start seeing progress in the midfield. I don't think Casemiro will start, but we will have to wait and see. Thanks, everyone. It's been great to have Ten Hag's press conference reaction back. I've really enjoyed it. If you want to continue the chat, I'm going to be on Twitch at 3 o'clock. Speak to you all in a bit. Thanks for watching.